Hey everybody, how's it going? I am bringing you the first of, I believe, 4 videos from the Prairie State Cycling series that was, I believe, 2 weeks ago now. I'm a little bit late getting with these videos for you guys, but they're been taking a little bit longer to edit than I thought they would. They should be kind of rapid fire coming into this week and next, so hopefully look out for those. Hopefully everything goes well. So yeah, this was the Willow Springs Road Race. This was the first race that I did of the whole series, and it was an 11-lap race, and I believe overall it was something like 40 miles, maybe a little bit more than that. But as you can see, it's a circuit race. It wasn't too long, but it did have some hills, and this is coming into the last lap here. I chose this lap because it was kind of the most interesting to watch. Um, Overall, the race itself was I believe, an hour and a half long, so it would have been a whole lot of footage for me to bring you guys. So I just kind of chose this one because I thought it would be the most interesting. So, as you can see, we just kind of got up these first hills here, starting to coast a little bit, and we come into this kind of like S curve that's slightly uphill. And really my game plan for this race was just to stay in the group and not really make any super hard efforts, because there were some decent hills and decent climbs, and as we know, that's not exactly my strength. So previous to this lap, I told my buddy Dominic here on my right that I would try and get him in good position for the final sprint up the hill, and so I'm just trying to stick close to him and stay towards the front, because like I said, this is coming into one to go here. So as you can kind of see, we're starting to go downhill here, and up ahead is the final climb. Now this is the climb that leads into the finish line. The finish line is about 100 meters after you crest the hill. So we're moving at a pretty decent pace here. It wasn't anything crazy during the whole race. It was actually a pretty relaxed pace for most of the race, which was nice. But like I said, I'm trying to stay towards the front at this climb because I know then if I slow down, I can just kind of fade back through the group and not get just completely dropped. You can see my teammate Dominic move towards the front. That's because he's a hell of a lot better climber than I am. And I kind of, like I said, fall towards the back here, but I start to move up a little bit and just kind of trying to get back up through this mass of riders here. Believe we had something like 100 or so starters. It was a lot of guys. So here's my teammate again, Dominic. So I try and stay on his wheel, just stick close to him. So here we cross the line, and this is the final lap of the race. You can see my heart rate's pretty darn high right now. That hill took a lot out of me. I felt great for most of the race, and then those last 3 laps really started to take a toll on my legs as we were going up the hill. I was lucky enough to borrow my teammate Rick's wheels, some nice carbon zips, which I feel, it sounds really silly to say, but I feel they really helped me out with the race. I just felt really good on them. I felt super confident. I just really kind of liked riding carbon wheels so much. He actually let me borrow them for this whole series, and what actually ended up happening was I went out and got some carbon wheels of my own right after this series was over because I just couldn't stand racing on the aluminum wheels that I had anymore. Yeah, so back to the video. You can kind of see we're coming around. This is a relatively straight portion. It was slightly downhill, but I do believe that it was also into the wind. So even if you wanted to move up, you were still doing a decent amount of work. So I'm just kind of trying to stay behind a couple guys, but again, move up towards the front. This is the last lap. I know where I need to be. I know especially going into that final hill that I'm going to need to be towards the front. One thing that I really did focus on in this race was just kind of sucking wheel as much as I could, just getting on guys' wheels and kind of fighting other riders for wheels that I thought were going to be decent wheels. And I feel like I did a pretty good job this race. Overall, I was never really out in the front, or was caught by myself, just like stuck in the wind, which was good. So what we're doing here is we're going into the I guess you would call this the fastest turns of the course. You're going to see here we kind of take a slight left and then an uphill right, and the uphill right is where the one lane rule goes into effect, and so everybody that's in that second lane on the left has to come into the lane on the right. And there are some barrels there, and what's going to happen is as we kind of ratchet up the speed and get going, one guy on my left, you'll see it here in a minute, he actually gets sent off on the other side of the barrels there, which sucks because he was doing really well. Colin is a great rider, super strong, and he just got pushed out, which is super unfortunate. So this was my favorite part of the entire course here, because we're just bombing this corner really fast, basically no brakes other than to just kind of scrub a little bit of speed. And we come into these barriers here that indicates that the double yellow rule is in effect. We cannot cross into the other lane. During this race, I noticed that a lot of riders were not using this shoulder area to move up, and you can kind of see there's that rumble strip portion, but there was plenty of room to move up and just kind of get a good position here. So that's what I do. I move up, try and find a decent position to go forwards, and yeah, this is coming into, I guess you would call it the crowd straight. So up ahead is where the race actually started. We didn't start at the start-finish line, but up here on the left is where the race actually started. So we have probably about a half a lap left, and I'm feeling okay. You can see my heart rate's back down. We're not pushing it too hard. I'm behind a wheel that I know is good, and so I'm just kind of content here, just staying where I am. The group's not pushing extremely hard, and I know that if anybody attacks, because it is the last lap, that somebody is going to cover it, so I don't have to do any particularly hard work. I do know that my teammate Dominic is either, I believe, on my left or a wheel or two behind me, so one of my main goals was to just get him to stick on my wheel up the climbs, because I was willing to sacrifice myself so he could just blow by some other guys. At least that was my plan. You'll see here as we start to go up, we do start to ratchet the speed up, which I'm comfortable with. This is not a speed that is something that is going to kill me, but it starts to get a little tight here. We got guys trying to stay on the right lane. This guy right here in the green actually had bumped me on accident. Right there you can kind of see somebody bumped him and he bumps into me, or maybe it's right here. I think it's right here, and my handlebars get kind of shaky. Yeah, right there. And he kind of went full body weight into me, but it wasn't his fault. We both stayed up. Nobody went down, which is awesome. So here we passed through kind of home base, and we're going to start coming into the final, not the final climb, but the final climbs, the beginning of the climbs here. This first climb kind of took most of my energy out of me. Everybody was kind of ratcheting up their speed. You can see I'm starting to fall back a little bit, but that's just kind of jockeying for position. Some guys are wanting to move towards the front, maybe a little bit more than I am, just because I know that the hills are coming up and it's going to be rough for me. So here you see these barrels on the left, and that indicates that we now have as much lane as we need. So the group starts to spread out a pretty decent amount here, and we're going to hang a right. And this is where the first hill kind of starts, and you can kind of see that the front of the group starts to speed away from me a little bit, so I put in a pretty decent effort to stick with them, just because I know as long as I can stick with this lead group, I should be okay. And then as we ratchet it up again, my teammate Dominic goes up ahead, I know that I can't keep up with him at this point. I'm pretty exhausted, so again, I'm just looking to grab a wheel and stay on it as best I can. So the lead group is starting to ratchet up the pace again, which is okay. I'm in the pack. I can keep this pace just fine. I start to put a little power down. I want to kind of move up through the field. I know I'm a little far back if I want to get a decent position. So I'm trying to move up, but it's difficult when the stronger climbers are starting to jockey for position and move towards the front. So I kind of try and take the outside lane here because we do have both lanes now, and just try and kind of grab some wheels and move up as best I can. I do an okay job, but we kind of get pushed out. The whole group gets pushed to the left, and so coming into this final climb here, like I said, I'm pretty far back, and I really wanted to be further forward. So we start to hit the hill, and you can kind of see me start to fall back. A couple of the sprinters start to fall back. Yeah, I mean, I'm just carrying speed here, and I know that I'm pretty much cooked at this point. I don't have much of a sprint up this hill in me, but I just try and put in the best as effort as I can. And oddly enough, I had a bunch of you guys in mind as I'm going up this hill, hollering at me to just keep pedaling, don't stop, just keep going, sprint to the line. You know, you guys keep giving me a bunch of a hard time for it. So I do that, and I just keep pushing it, and I do get a couple places back. It's nothing that's going to put me in any kind of record book or give me any results worth talking about, but I do get a couple places back that I wouldn't have had I just kind of spun up the hill, which always makes you feel a little better than coming in, you know, dead fucking last. So that's the race. I was happy enough to finish at least kind of with the pack, and see you guys next time. Hope you liked it.